A martini, shaken, not stirred.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Houston, we have a problem.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
I'm your #1 fan.
And here we go.
Happy Monday, moviegoers, and welcome to another edition of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Happy Monday, October the 7th, everybody. I'm joined here alongside with Ed.
Hey, how's it going, folks?
Zach.
What's going on? Glad to be back.
And, guys, how's your week been? We'll start with you, Zach.
Go ahead, bud.
It's going pretty good. We did a Joker episode yesterday, our bonus episode for the month. So did you go see it 7 more times, Juan?
I wanted to go see it again last night, but I was pretty tired. But yeah, the bonus episode is up. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Podbean, anywhere you can get your pods at. It's tremendous. It's already hit over 100 downloads, and it's not even 24 hours old.
I was going to ask in our episode yesterday, do you think that this could be a movie like Saving Private Ryan you could watch over and over again?
Yes. Ed, how about you? How have you been?
Oh, not too bad. Working, doing all that good stuff. Got some nice meetings coming up in work, so that'll be cool. On top of that, just been, going over a couple series and all that. Still following with.
We'll get into some recent watches later. But yeah, I want to thank everybody who has made this podcast the way it is. A bonus episode released just 24 hours ago. And it's already got over 100 downloads. It might be because of Joker, but this episode looks like it's going to be our highest downloaded yet.
Hey,
that's awesome.
We're already 100 downloads in 24 hours.
And hey, you can't. We're not doing a video episode, but we did get some new equipment, so we're rising up in the world.
And then we got some emails, so I'm going to ask you guys some questions and some emails at the end of the episode in our official new mailbag segment.
Okay.
So, last week's episode, though, all about Silence of the Lambs, got really good praise. Some people say that they still can't watch the movie because of the way Hannibal Lecter is. But, I mean, it reached over 300 downloads. So,
nice.
306 downloads for the week and counting. So, it's getting up there.
I'm happy with that. We're kind of keeping that 300 steady pace. I like that.
Every week. But talk about, you guys got any movie news covering up?
No, I mean, other than, the Spider-Man finally back in the MCU, which is amazing. I mean, publicity stunt or not, it doesn't matter. Apparently,
I think it would have been good either way.
Apparently, Tom Holland actually called Marvel's top dog and had a conversation with him and kind of, I don't know, maybe pulled something out of something else.
Mm-hmm.
So, kudos to you, Tom Holland. We love you.
And kind of going off of Marvel and Kevin Feige, I think this broke last week or the week before, we just haven't got a chance to talk about it. Kevin Feige came out and announced he is interested, or he's going to be producing a Star Wars film. We don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or what, but something you have to keep in mind, guys, is that Rian Johnson, who directed Last Jedi, he has his own trilogy. Benny and Wass, who was the creator of Game of Thrones, they're doing their own trilogy. So my question is, do you think that... I think this is just going to be a one-and-done thing. I don't think he's going to do like the MCU of Star Wars. But do you think that this is too much Star Wars?
Why not? I mean, money's coming in. People love Star Wars. There's endless amounts of source out there to work with. So kind of why not? I think as long as they don't... Because since we're moving away from the Skywalker story arc, I think it'll be a lot better and a lot more interesting because now we who are we going to get introduced to? What side of the galaxy? Is it going to be the Rebels? Is it going to be the Empire? Is it going to be before that, after that? Kind of people will want to go see just because they'll want to understand what is going on, basically.
Right.
So
I think it's going to be one of those things that it's going to make $1 billion, so
Yeah.
they're going to do. They're going to continue to do it as long as it hits $1 billion.
The only film in these new Star Wars, other than that has since been released since Force Awakens, that hasn't made $1 billion is Solo. That's the only one that hasn't made $1 billion.
I
But
don't understand that one.
the only reason is because I think they had to go back and reshoot some stuff, so therefore
Right.
they wasted double money on it. Again, if that movie came out in December instead of May, it would have made a ton of money.
Right, and we've talked about it. It's the fatigue, Star Wars fatigue. You had Last Jedi, and then a few months later we had Solo.
Which you guys can go back and check out any of our past episodes on. You can find them on the Facebook page, or you can go to Spotify, YouTube, Podbean, and Anchor, and just social search Cine-Men Movie Podcast. You can also find us on the Facebook, which is facebook.com/movie, REELZ, Movie Reels 405, or we've gotten so many downloads and hits now, you can just search the Cine-Men Movie Podcast on Facebook. We pop right up. And then on the Instagram is at Cine-Men Movie Podcast, one word. And then the Twitter is at Cine-Men405. And then if you guys want to email us some questions like you did about some past episodes that I'll get to at the end of the episode, it's Cine-Men, Cinemen, 921@gmail.com. But we're going to get into some recent watches. Ed, do you have anything that you've checked out over the week?
Right now, I haven't really gotten a chance to watch too many movies with trying to get sleep and then other personal things going.
Oh, nice.
Just American Wu-Tang Clan, American Saga, basically. Starting to catch up a little bit here and there on Letterkenny. Getting ready for the new season, October 14th. October 11th for you Crave people out there. So that'd be pretty cool. Other than that, not really anything else. So
Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I've checked out a couple of movies. I'm just gonna run through these real quick, and if you guys have any comments, please chime in. I checked out Child's Play, the remake, and I checked out Booksmart and Ma, and Joker was obviously another one, and honestly, I was gonna get your guys' opinions. I know you've seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, Ed, the remake of Child's Play.
I have not yet.
Okay.
No.
Honestly, initially I didn't like it, but I'm just not a Chucky person. I just think the whole concept is kind of stupid. The original.
Go ahead.
The original one's fine. I haven't seen any of the sequels or anything like that. But I do like the one aspect I will say about this remake that I did enjoy was the idea of AI kind of being evil or just kind of turning, what AIs do. And Mark Hamill's performance as Chucky, I thought, he did knock it out of the park.
The only problem I had with it was the ending. The ending was a little sloppy, I think. But I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It made the original one. I still like the original one, but to me, this one made more sense. Other than a voodoo guy, a voodoo
Right.
Chucky doll.
I could see, if anything, I could see this happening instead of.
Yes, this one was way more entertaining to me, and for a sequel off of an original film that was considered sometimes maybe a classic nowadays, I think this one is pretty good, and I think it lives up to the hype. I finished Booksmart as well.
What do you think?
I thought it was okay. I will use the word okay. It wasn't something that I'll continue to just, I didn't think it was great.
Yeah.
I think people who compare it to Superbad or Easy A should be shamed. I don't think it's that good.
Right.
And if it's just today's generation that's what a good comedy movie is, then
That's fine. I mean, probably when Superbad came out, we all three probably loved that movie.
people who liked Ferris Bueller's Day Off probably
Think
thought it was stupid,
Yeah.
which I understand. And then I checked out Red Dragon because of after last week's episode of Silence of the Lambs. I was like, I want to go back and rewatch Red Dragon.
Is it better? Does it age well? I guess is my
Yes.
question.
I thought it was 10 times better than Hannibal, and I thought that it was equally as good as Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you have I wouldn't say Julianne Moore's a bad actress, but I think you have better quality with with Edward Norton.
No, yeah, Julianne Moore's a great actress, but Edward Norton just kind of knocked it out of the park for me. And then the one who really stole it was Ralph Fiennes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I want to thank everybody who did vote on the poll that I put up between the Ghostbusters and Frankenweenie. Ghostbusters knocked it out of the park. Frankenweenie got 2 votes compared to Ghostbusters 26. And that's combining Twitter, Instagram, and the Facebook poll. And then I checked out yesterday.
All right, so what'd you think?
I loved it. It was one of my. It was probably one of my. If I had to pick a top 10, it'd be in the top 10 of the year. Yeah, so far.
Okay.
I thought it was an original idea. I thought the cast was good, and I thought the story was. It was a good story.
I'm glad you enjoyed it better than I did because I just thought it was boring.
Maybe we should rewatch it. Maybe it was one of those things where it was an ad extra for me, where maybe you were tired or you had something going on, yeah, I think that's gonna cover. Then I checked out Joker, and guys, that's, final thoughts yesterday on yesterday's episode. I gave it a 10 out of 10. Favorite film of the year. Far surpasses my last favorite film that I picked, which was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So go check it out.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Joaquin Phoenix is probably the greatest performance I've seen. I said it yesterday on the Joker episode. The best performance I've seen in probably 5-6 years.
That's
saying a lot.
When I left the theater, I literally wanted to go pay again and sit down and watch it again. And I don't do that with that many movies. So, all right, guys. So we're gonna talk our top 5 today, which with a movie like this and a movie like Saw next week, I think it's kind of fitting that we do in our movie last week. I think Zach, you came up with this brainchild, so we're gonna do our top 5 psychological thrillers. All right, guys. It was a kind of a tough list for me to do, but I think we're gonna go ahead and try to get her done. Zach, do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, actually 2. I'm gonna go with 1, The Prestige, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. I was like, I know this actor very well, but yeah, Christian Bale. Actually loved that movie. Thought it was really, really good. Can't really stress too much more about it. That I definitely think you should go see it. If you like Now You See Me, then I definitely think you'll like that one. It's a little darker, but it's definitely really good.
I think that's actually one of Christopher Nolan's underrated films.
I would
agree. Because probably it's just right after Batman Begins, and no one really knows Christopher Nolan yet.
Right. But yeah, I would agree in that makes sense why Christian Bale is pretty good. The other one I'd have to say would be Gone Girl. I don't know, that one halfway is like Making of a Murderer, but movie form.
Yeah.
So it was a little uncomfortable sometimes, but it was a really good movie. Great performances. So yeah, those are my 2.
Rapid fire. I'm just gonna go through my honorable mentions right quick. 7, Insomnia, and 88 Minutes. 88 Minutes starring Al Pacino, Insomnia, Al Pacino and Robin Williams.
And Hilary Swank.
And then 7, which we're covering today. So with an ending like that and with a built story where it just leads and leads, that's what it's all about. Zach, what about you?
I don't have any honorable mentions this time. I failed miserably.
Whoa.
So I'm just going to go ahead and do my number 5. Number 5 for me, I probably how much I love this movie, it probably should be higher, but really I was struggling to find a number 5. But number 5 for me is Split. M. Night Shyamalan, James McAvoy. Say what you will about the Glass trilogy, if you will, and what was the first one? Unbreakable, Split, and then Glass. Split for me, man, James McAvoy, the fact that he was able to do 15 performances in one is incredible, and Anna Taylor-Joy, who plays one of the kidnapped girls. I think she's able to hold her own in this movie, and it's really. It may not be entirely factual about some that people that deal with DID, but man, it's so enjoyable, and it works as its own film, which I love.
Yeah, because take away the last 5 minutes and you wouldn't even know about Unbreakable.
Yeah.
And it's already, to me, it's the best of the three.
Oh, absolutely. And then, yeah, Split's my number 5. What's your number 5?
Mine, right now I'm going to have to go with The Secret Window, Johnny Depp. Don't know why, but Dad had this one in his collection. And just decided, okay, what's The Secret Window? Like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think I watched it 6 times that week at home. Just kind of found one that at first I was kind of like, this is whatever. And then it got into the beef of the movie. And it was just like, holy sheesh, this is a ride. But yeah, loved that one for a while.
I will say that to me is one of the most underrated performances Johnny Depp has ever done. And as far as like movie wise go, like that's really underrated as far as some other, these kind of movies go. John Turturro.
Mm-hmm. John Turturro.
Yeah, my gosh, he was so creepy in that movie. That kind of leads into my number 5, because my number 5 is The Shining.
Oh.
And it's The Shining, man. It's almost kind of one of those movies where they go into a hotel and he's got to write. We did a whole episode on it. Episode number 2 is all about The Shining. So I would go check it out. YouTube, Spotify, Podbean. But I'm recently in the middle of rewatching The Shining on 4K, and it looks beautiful. Looks amazing.
Hey.
I can see why they charge $24.99 for it.
Well,
but number 5 for me is going to be The Shining. Zach, what about you?
Kind of going back to what you said about Secret Window, I was going to ask, but I didn't want to know if you guys knew. I was going to ask, was it based off a Stephen King short story? But it is.
I was about to say, I think so.
Based upon the story Secret Window, Secret Garden by Stephen King.
Yeah, right.
I've never seen it, but like you said, you guys really enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. I really would recommend that.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your number 4?
Number 4, Eddie, you already mentioned Gone Girl.
Ben
Affleck, Rosamund Pike, David Fincher, which we're talking about for 7. Saw this one in the theater, was blown away, but just twists and turns and just how crazy the story went. I didn't read the book. I kind of went to go, no spoilers going in. I kind of think that this is one of Ben Affleck's best roles, best performances, but they get no nomination. Rosamund Pike did. I kind of think she should have won for that. Like, she was incredible in it.
I'll agree with those. That was a very good film. I actually took my grandparents to see that because got to get in for free when we worked there. But yeah, I've got to agree with that. Going into my number 4. I'm going to kind of go for a slightly older one, and I'm going to go with Misery. All right, but yeah, my number 4, I have to go with Misery from 1990. James Caan, Kathy Bates. She is almost believable as a
super fan,
super psycho fan.
Yeah,
because that's when he gets to that overdone point. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I can imagine what some actual stars or actors, actresses, musicians, and all that have to go through with that. Because there comes a point when you need to back off, and that was really past that point. So yeah, Misery, I've always found it odd, for that matter. Always liked that movie. Alright, so you're number 4, Johnny?
Number 4 for me is going to be Taxi Driver from 1976 with Robert De Niro, Jodie Foster, Albert Brooks, and directed by Martin Scorsese. That movie is almost Joker-esque, and it's about a troubled taxi driver who pretty much, goes through life living the nightlife, the taxi driver life, and he just eventually snaps. If anybody out there would like to know kind of what Taxi Driver is like, I would probably say it's almost Joker-like, or
Well, it was a big inspiration for the movie.
oh, yeah, definitely. Or Zach, I don't know what else would you kind of compare Taxi Driver to?
Maybe I wouldn't say completely, but
It's almost just its own film, and that's why I think it hasn't been touched. I mean, hell, the thing came out in the 70s and 76, and nothing similar has came out close.
43 years later.
maybe to a certain extent, maybe Scarface, a little Scarface, but not much.
No, not at all. I mean, there's no drugs really involved in it.
No. But I mean, just like the psycho nature of the character.
Yeah, it's pretty high on my list. I rated a 9. If anybody wants to check it out, I mean, Scarface. But yeah, it's Taxi Driver, 1976. Zach, what do you got at number 3?
Number 3.
Or you're on 4?
No, I'm at 3. Number 3, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on there because I just couldn't avoid putting it on the list. Joker. We did a whole episode on it, and I'm not gonna. If you want my conclusive thoughts, just go listen to the episode. Ed, what's your number 3?
Number 3, I'm going to go with 1999's The Sixth Sense. I feel that this is probably, well, definitely Haley Joel Osment's best of his career. Such a young age, had a great talent. Just hasn't. I don't think he's horizoned on it anymore. Bruce Willis alongside, kind of maybe helping lead the way. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, it's been 20 years. You need to see it. It is fantastic.
Well, for Bruce Willis, that was kind of like a resurgence for him because he kind of just, not I wouldn't say disappeared, but kind of felt fallen a little bit.
Yeah.
But this movie kind of shown him back. He got brought back in the limelight with that.
We talking about The Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
He did Die Hard 3 a couple of years, short years before that. Die Hard 3 wasn't too bad. You don't like Die Hard 3?
Again, brought back in the limelight.
Ed?
No, it's your turn. Number 3.
We're on 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3 for me is a tie.
Uh-oh.
And it's between Saw and Saw 2. Wow.
Little preview for next week.
Little preview for next week. I'm not going to touch on too much of the original Saw, but I will go ahead and talk. 2004 was a strange year for horror, but you saw the debut of Saw, and even though the cast wasn't completely blown away with Carrie Lewis, Danny Glover, and then it had pretty much really a bunch of other people you didn't really know, but directed by James Wan. That's all you need to say. Probably one of the best psychological thrillers in a few years, leading up to that point. And then Saw 2 was just completely more of a... To me, Saw 2 is more of a psychological thriller than anything. So, that's probably what I'm going to... But to me, Saw 2 is just as good as a psychological thriller as the first one. It's the one where Donnie Wahlberg's kid gets abducted and Jigsaw plays with him literally the entire movie. I think those movies kind of get a little notch too because there's so many of them, and they feel like even though there's only 6 or 7, it feels like there's 20. But to me, Saw 1 and 2 is probably the best of the whole series, and I'd have to go with those two at a tie for my number 4. So number 3. You're right. I can't count today. Zach, what do you got at number 2?
Number 2, I'm not gonna this is gonna be another one of our episodes that we did. I'm not gonna dwell on it. If you want to go hear our thoughts, we did an episode on it. Silence of the Lambs. That's one of the very when you say psychological thriller, that's one of the main ones that I think of. There is another one that takes its place as number 1, but Silence of the Lambs, man, it's probably maybe the perfect psychological thriller.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check out that episode.
Ed, what about you?
Number 2, it's been kind of a hard one to actually go with. So number 2, I'm going to probably take and say, yeah, screw it. I might as well say it. I'm going to go with Donnie Darko. Now, I hate to say that just because it is one of my, if not my favorite movie, for that matter. And I've talked about it a couple times before in the podcast on some of the top fives. Probably going to stop using it.
Oh, no, I use The Dark Knight as many times as I can.
You use The Godfather as much as you can.
Oh, yeah.
But,
or Adam Sandler.
Yeah, hey. Sandman can always get into the use.
You can always get my top 5.
But yeah, I'd have to go with Donnie Darko. Just, halfway, and I don't know what it's like being on this, but halfway like an acid trip. I mean, with Grandma Death, with going into, all the different actual realms that they try to go into and that they expose themselves to. Plus, I think it was Seth Rogen's first movie, I think. And it was more of a slightly serious role for him. But, yeah, so I think that's funny. But, yeah, that's my number 2 is Donnie Darko.
Number 2 for me is going to be all about a U.S. Marshal from 1954, and that's Shutter Island. I think that movie is so underrated, and that performance that he gives is underrated. I don't see how he was not nominated for an Oscar that year. The story, the ending, the performances, the visual scenes, the cutback scenes. To me, this is almost one of those movies that if I had to do a top 5 from 2010, it'd be 1 or 2. There's not much to say about it. His performance as Teddy Daniels was amazing. My number 2 is Shutter Island from 2010, directed by Martin Scorsese. So go check it out. Zach, what do you got at number 1?
You at Boston. My number 1 is actually Shutter Island. And that's, to me, I said on Silence of the Lambs, I think Silence of the Lambs is the go-to psychological thriller, but for me, my opinion, Shutter Island just takes the cake for that. Like you said, Leonardo DiCaprio, Mark Ruffalo, Ben Kingsley, phenomenal cast. I think, like you said, I think he should have been nominated for that. And I think a lot of people don't know it's directed by Scorsese, which is one of his underrated films.
Let's talk about the undercast for a second. Some cast members that aren't even in the movie for long periods of time. Jackie Earle Haley, Ted Levine, Patricia Clarkson, Michelle Williams.
Yeah.
Some of these actors and actresses, and then somebody who really gets me every time I see him in a movie is John Carl Lynch, the deputy, the big guy, who's also the husband in Fargo.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's also, if a lot of people don't know him, but a lot of 90s kids would probably know him as the boyfriend, Mimi's boyfriend in the Drew Carey Show.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So, he's somebody that should have made my list last week as far as underrated actors. He's really good in some of the small roles that he does like this. So, little orgasm for Shutter Island. Ed, what do you got at number 1?
Number 1, I'm going to have to go with the Blair Witch Project. Just because that is probably the most psychological, messed up, full with every single being of your imagination that it can. Because don't get me wrong, when you've got like Jaws that doesn't show it for a while, or little screen time, same with Hannibal, or Silence of the Lambs, I should say. Different movies like that mess with you in a psychological manner, in who's smarter kind of way. This one messes with you because literally it's like pitch black, you can't see the killer, you can't see the creature, whatever, you know what I mean? You halfway think it's a killer, you halfway think it's a creature, you don't fully know until... And yeah, you still don't know. So there's kind of implications, but you don't truly see a image. So
that's what gets you.
Yeah, it's unknown.
Yeah.
Well, and the movie when it came out, everyone thought it was real, like it was just some found lost tapes in the woods. But I think that's what helped that movie, and still to this day. If you haven't seen the movie, but if they had kept it like, this is real, we just found this footage, who knows?
It'd be forbidden.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like this. There's been so many. That's kind of how like the Paranormal Activity or Phoenix Forgotten or Cloverfield even has kind of blossomed from that.
Did you ever see the one called the Poughkeepsie Tapes?
No.
The Poughkeepsie Tapes is basically like a series of like found footage from the footage of the serial killer. Yeah. Like it was like I think it got a Blu-ray release, but like very limited.
I'll probably give you guys my thoughts on it next week because believe it or not, I've never seen the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, we should have done that as an episode.
Yeah, I've never seen the Blair Witch Project, so I've had it for like a year because I bought it last year or the year before during this time of year, and I think I'll have to watch it for you guys. My number one is the episode from yesterday, Joker. Go check it out. It's on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Anchor. Go see it. And it's got a lot of mixed reviews right now. Some people like it, some people don't. Guys, let me tell you this. This is my DC plug-in rant for the week. If you don't like Joker, I think it's because you're expecting The Dark Knight or you're expecting an action film. It's not an action film. It's not The Dark Knight, and it's not a Batman or superhero film. This movie is what you call a real, true, very well written psychological thriller. Mm-hmm. And you could even take it for a grain of salt, but for you going into a movie thinking that it's just called Joker, you should take that name away. Take the Joker name away.
Yeah,
and pretend it's called, like we talked about yesterday, pretend it's called Arthur.
Yeah.
Which is the name of Joaquin Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Because you will love it so much more. The performance that he does from the moment the camera's on him until the very last scene, that guy put in some work.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that if they had advertised the film, if they hadn't put DC's logo on the front of it, and it's a twist at the end that this is a Joker film, oh my! Like it would have been like huge. It would have been like it would have broke the internet.
You could have just called it Clowns.
Arthur is better.
Arthur,
I really like that title.
You should really and then if you go in and that's the reason you don't like it because you have pacing issues or if it's too slow, then some performances like that, I'm not going to call them artsy, but some movies just like that are not for you. If you can sit down and get through Taxi Driver, I think you'll love Joker.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor. Save yourself the $8-9. Read about it. Really, really help yourself. Because don't pay $9 or $10 and then say you didn't like it just because you didn't like it, or say you didn't like it because it was too slow. That's not the movie's fault. That's your fault.
Yeah. I feel like every single episode from here to the end of the year, go see Joker if it's still in the theater.
Hey, I mean, if it's a good film, why not?
It's a good film to me.
Well, I mean,
I liked it too. I mean, I'm not. That's not.
No, yeah. But a lot of I'm just saying all the bad reviews I did read is because there's pacing issues.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, that's half the movies that are out there, and then the other half don't really have that great of a story. So, do you want a story? Do you want action?
A lot of people, a lot of these people are probably like, John Wick probably gets them off. So,
well, I mean, it does me too, but I mean, I still appreciate a good story.
Well, a lot of the people out there really don't. So, I mean, if you can enjoy something like John Wick, or I'll just say it like this: if you can enjoy John Wick, Avengers, or Joker or The Dark Knight, you're fine.
Well, I think what you're trying to say, Johnny, is that there's people out there that just like the action and the violence. You can tell a story like that with limited action and violence. And I think,
I've been saying it since day one. Just go in with an open mind, and I think you'll like it. But today's movie is All About Seven, directed by the great David Fincher from 1995. And that's what today's episode is about.
Like what you do for a living? These things you see?
You have to wear blinders sometimes. Most times.
You're retiring. 6 more days and you're all the way gone.
So how long have you lived here?
Too long. We'll be spending every waking hour together from now until the time I leave. I'll show you who your friends and enemies are.
Look, I've worked homicide 5 years. Not here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a homicide.
No fingerprints and no witnesses of any kind.
Nope. About the only thing we know about that guy right now is he's totally insane.
There are 7 deadly sins. Gluttony,
You're going to come take a look at this?
greed,
No one touches anything.
sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy. 7. You can expect 5 more of these.
Body was found on Tuesday morning.
I hate the city.
We're gonna get who did this.
This will be the very definition of swift justice.
There are 2 more bodies, 2 more victims.
This guy is methodical, exacting, and worst of all, patient.
He's laughing at us.
He had a gun.
He's 2 murders away from completing his masterpiece.
Let's finish it. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No.
Alright guys, we are talking all about Seven from 1995, directed by David Fincher. It had a release date of September the 22nd, 1995, with a $33 million budget, and it grossed a little over $327 million, with a good Blu-ray release of September the 14th, 2010. So we'll do what we normally do, round table, and Ed, you know, what did you think revisiting the film for the podcast?
I always like the film. I think it's a great thinking film. Don't get me wrong. I think great performances by several actors, for that matter. I don't remember Gwyneth Paltrow in too much more before this, to be fully honest. So I don't know if this is one of her kind of more breakouts, or if she was still kind of a small time, or if she had, been in the game for a bit. But
yeah.
No,
I mean, this was definitely one of her earlier films, starring Morgan Freeman as Somerset, Brad Pitt as Mills, Kevin Spacey as John Doe, and then you do have a young Gwyneth Paltrow in there as Tracy. So Zach, what about you?
I saw this film for the first time a couple of years ago, and I was kind of, honestly, I was kind of disappointed in it. I heard all the hype of, it's one of David Fincher's best films, probably this and Fight Club is probably the top 2. And I love the, everyone involved, Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, everyone you just mentioned. And I don't know, man, like the first time I saw it, I was just kind of like, I wouldn't say I don't think I was bored. I just think I just wasn't invested in it. But on this rewatch, now that I knew what was happening and kind of just paid attention to the movie, I liked it. I like it a little bit better. A
little bit better. What did you think about Fight Club? Do you like Fight Club a lot, or are you just okay with it?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's one of those Fight Club's one of those cult classic films. I just I understand why people like it. I just don't get it.
Believe it or not, when it first came out, it was shit. It was crapped on, and nobody liked it. It didn't make any money. Mm-hmm. It's one of those movies that 20 years later, that's the
when
appreciation.
You say Fight Club, you're just like, oh yeah, Fight Club.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. With Fight Club, it kind of, the ending I think throws a lot of people off, because you're just like, he's been doing this the whole time. Then what the hell?
But that's the twist of the movie. It's just like, oh, that's what's been going on.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of turns some people off, because, I'm going through and watching, and with Fight Club, I had to go ahead and just kind of, back up for a second at the end and go, wait, what are we doing? Huh? Right. So.
Yeah, I think I'm on it. I think I'm on this with, I'm on the same steps as probably both of you guys. The first time I watched it, I think, was the week or two after the Blu-ray release in 2010, and I haven't picked it up since. But I don't know why. I was talking to Ed about this off air. it's not because I don't like the movie. Time just goes by so fast.
Yeah.
You buy something and watch it. Next thing you know, it's been like 6 years since you looked at it.
Yeah.
I mean, my God. But rewatching it for the episode today, it was phenomenal. I enjoyed the watch, the performances, and the ending, which we'll get to. So, yeah. So the movie's starting off with Morgan Freeman, kind of like almost a lot of psychological thrillers. He's, been a 20-year detective, getting ready to retire, and hey, look, here's this one more case you got to do before you retire, and he knows it's going to be a dandy.
Yeah.
So,
what'd you guys think of the opening credits of like the grisly images, Max with the, I guess, was it techno music? Not techno, but like
rave music, kind of.
Punk rock or something.
I'll say that. I'll say this.
Steampunk. I'm sorry.
At the beginning, I was thinking to myself, why are we doing this in the month of October? And then the music and the opening credits hit, and I'm like, this is why.
Well, I mean, on top of that, it's kind of a psychological thriller, and I mean, that's kind of been our MO this year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, obviously, was slasher, and that was always a fun thing. But yeah, this year has so far been psychological. And yeah, just wanted to go off of that. So, this is a movie that a lot of us thought had just brilliant performances, and on top of that, the props, makeup, I mean, it just had so many different elements that were very, very well done that you kind of have to pay a little bit of respect for that matter to it. So, kind of a really, really cool, to me, honestly, just a really cool movie to visit. And I mean, I think the first time I seen it was back in 02, 01. I was maybe 12 years old. So.
I will say, before we get deeper into the episode, let's just let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Rockstar Energy Drink. It is the official energy drink of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Available in over 20 different flavors in 30 different countries. So, I mean, right now I'm drinking the hardcore green apple. I'm addicted to that kind. I don't know what kind you like, Ed.
I actually recently just tried the Endurance cotton candy, and
really?
It was like, oof, it definitely is cotton candy. I will give them that. If you don't like really sweet, be easy on that one.
The Endurance ones are the ones that has over 300 milligrams of caffeine. So if you're on a hard day or if you need to get through it, grab you a can of Rockstar. It's the active energy drink for people who live active lifestyles. So get you a can and listen to the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. And now we'll get back to the show. What about that opening death scene? The first body that they find, which is the overweight guy in a face full of spaghetti, and you see the house and you see the bugs, and you really get a feel for what this movie is going to be. What did you guys think of that first
Yeah,
scene?
I think the first death of the fat man in the spaghetti, it's just like a grimy, nasty death. And like, I think was that piano wire he was like,
I think barbed wire.
Barbed wire, like he was wrapped
sure.
in, or his hands were.
Hands and feet
were clasped. But no, I'm like it's just really unsettling. It's just like you said, Johnny. It's just like, okay, we're in for something that's not. It's not going to be good. You don't know. I mean, we're going to talk about the ending later, but it's not going to end well, regardless of whether it was Brad Pitt or Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, to me, when I saw that opening, I'm like, I was hoping that they would try to see if the lights worked because I wanted to see more. But keep looking back and forth, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's really grotesque. But again, I don't know why, but it seems like during these episodes that we really talk about these horror episodes or these, the months of September and October. We always talk more about practical effects during these movies than any other time of the year.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why it's important to maybe sometimes do movies like these because, I don't think there was any CGI in this movie, but the practical effects with the dead bodies or the makeup, I mean, that's...
Well, I mean, like later on, we find they find the body of Sloth, and it's just like not
lethargic,
like zombie-like creature.
Mm-hmm.
And like the cop puts his head face down in the thing and he comes alive. You're just like, oh man, like this guy's been alive the whole time.
Well, I mean, that's just kind of going off what you were talking about. We actually talked about this last year with the Killer Clowns episode. It's great to have CGI, something like Marvel's Avengers Endgame and all that good stuff. And I mean, that offers a beautiful look, new technology offers to go into new universes, new things to do. Because, I mean, let's face it, some stuff either looks extremely cheesy with props or it just can't be attained. However, when you're dealing with like deceased bodies or when you're dealing with, blood or sores or even, I don't know, some odd creatures, it's in my eyes kind of better. Like the man who ate himself to death, basically. That guy, I think it was best to have him right there because Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman had something to literally look off of and to kind of build from. And then, you could physically touch it, you could see it. So, if they're going over, it helps with their cues. Mm-hmm. So, say Brad Pitt forgot the line or forgot what he was supposed to do. Well, this big guy has that sore on the left. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to touch him right above the sore with gloves on and ask what happened here or how it, or whatever it is. So, I mean, sometimes to me that would be a better, and I know some actors and actresses have hard times, with doing CGI movies because sometimes they're literally alone in a room with a ball on a stick.
Yeah. You know what I like most about it is that same scene where they picked up the head, the fat guy's head, and you could hear like he was still drowning on something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
One of the other scenes I want to talk about the same victim is the autopsy scene.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when the mortician has the stomach and Brad Pitt's like, that's the stomach, and then he's like, yeah, and this is actually unexpanded, or it had more room to expand. Talking about how he's confused on this, doesn't know about that, doesn't know about this, and then they all kind of brainstorm for a quick second and come up with different ideas. It's just incredible.
What did you think about that?
The autopsy scene?
Yeah.
This may say something about me, but I've always been interested in like the body and just like the dissection, after you die, just opening up and seeing the different organs. Man, like...
Have you done one of those classes?
No, I have not, no. And I think I think at some point all of us has maybe done the frog dissection, but nothing compared to, like, a human body. But, we talked about it in the Silence of the Lambs episode, that autopsy sequence. I think this one's much more graphic in nature, probably just because of the type of human that's on the table. But, man, like you said, when they took the stomach out, it was just like, I thought for a second in the bag, I thought that was like his heart, but no, like this is the stomach, just extended.
You said this is the first time I think this might be the first time we've all rewatched it, and probably, at least 7, 8 years for me.
Yeah, a couple of years.
2, 3.
So to me, like in this rewatch today, I was more appreciative of the performances than I've ever been. I think Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt really did well together, even though I think this was one of the first movies that maybe one and only movie that they've done together. But I was really appreciative of the performances, and it makes me wonder, why are there not more of these movies out there? Why are there not more dark, twisted, thrillers?
Maybe because of the taboo subject, or people just don't like to delve in that. Because don't get me wrong, I've got there's one person we haven't really brought up, and that's Kevin Spacey, man. That guy killed it as that John Doe mystery guy, whatever you want to call him.
And he wasn't in it for long.
He's only in it for 20 minutes, and he doesn't even get a credit at the beginning of the movie.
True.
Which I don't know if
it's done on purpose.
Right, but yeah. I mean, like, they did such a good job of covering up, and when he shows up, it's like, oh, I forgot he's even in this movie.
You know what I wanted to talk about before we get at the top of the hour, at the top of the episode, was this movie was nominated for 1 Oscar, and it was nominated for Best Film Editing.
Yeah.
And it was beaten by Apollo 13.
Well,
but
go ahead. I know you want to.
I really think, you know what though, that's maybe one stat we should probably try to drop, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. When we're sitting here talking about these movies, and we're talking about what we think was a good performance, at the end of the day, they probably look at it and be like, that's not worth anything.
But I mean, like you said, at the end of the day, well, I don't know if you're going to allude to this, but at the end of the day, people know this movie probably more than Apollo 11.
You mean Apollo 13?
Apollo 13, yeah.
You got the number wrong right there, so.
Right. That's true. And you could go back in history and look at all the winners and all the nominations, and you could probably agree that more of the nominating films deserved more stuff than the ones that won.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I feel like in every episode we got to do something about the Oscars. But I mean, it's just interesting, like, their process of why that one instead of this, or
That's
vice
true.
versa.
He blinked left instead of right.
And I hope you guys are doing your homework, because, I mean, in just a few weeks, when we turn the calendar year up, we're going to do our own award show, we're going to do our own, however many Oscars there is.
Yeah.
We're not going to do all, was there 14 or 11?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we should do like a top 10. Each of us have it like a top 10 of the year, because there's so many movies that come out, and maybe do like a MVP of the year or whatever.
Yeah, well, so far what I've gotten, like, we're going to do, like, whether it be the top 5 or top 10, we're going to have actors, supporting actresses, we're going to have all those listed, but our own opinion, without, without if I had to pick, one word, it would just be almost like the Rotten Tomatoes one,
Yeah.
Fuck the Oscars.
There's our PG-13 plug.
So other than that, I mean, that's just, that's our opinion. But with these psychological thrillers, and we're really about to dig deep into them this year, because next week is Saw, and then the week after that is Candyman, and then we'll finish Halloween season out with American Psycho. And I think it's, I don't know, this movie, and talking about the next death scene, is the lawyer.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed. And by the way, before we continue, I think it was such a genius move to do like a serial killer film based around the 7 Deadly Sins. Like I don't know if you could really get away with that doing that now.
Okay. Before you finish, I'll let you get into it, because Ed asked me at the beginning of the watch. I didn't know anything about those, and I don't know what that says about me. But I went ahead and wrote them down. You have gluttony, greed, sloth, envy, wrath, pride, and lust. And I'll let you two. Zach, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Ed. But why do you say that? As far as like you can do a movie like that, then about the 7 Deadly Sins, but not now. Kind of explain yourself.
I think the reason you couldn't get away with a movie like this today is that people are so politically correct, and we're living in an age where, like, if I give my opinion about something, or if I say something that's kind of risque in some form or fashion, you will get crucified. And granted, I'm not on social media or anything like that, but like, if I say, I support Trump or whatever, you know how many emails you would get in one day if you said that? And it's just bombastic in some cases. I mean, it's just like, but, we're talking about, especially it's a religious thing. People get very touchy about that subject. And the fact that you are dealing with, in the movies, basically about a murderer that uses the 7 Deadly Sins to kill people. We're going to talk about Kevin Spacey's dialogue scene in the car about each one of the victims.
I'm actually going to play that dialogue scene.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Ed, I'm kind of curious what you think. I don't think you could get away with it. Maybe you could, maybe like in a Netflix show or something, but not in like a mainstream film like this.
I don't know. I mean, I do think I do think you are right. You can get scrutinized very easily for what you say if you don't agree with the correct groups or anything like that. That's why, can't really get political, can't really get religious or anything like that. Just because, kind of toe that line, basically, if you will. However, when you are talking about this kind of a subject, you do have to go into religion or at least morals a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, all of us probably have a slightly different look on what greed or lust or gluttony is.
Mm-hmm.
I might think that lusting after a woman is, oh, you really want to dance with her, to where you look at it as a sexual advance. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I kind of look at sexual advance as lust, but all of us kind of have our own lines or boundaries or whatever have you. So you definitely have to understand that. But, honestly, I'll answer your question you said earlier, Johnny. I don't think that says anything bad nor good about you. It's kind of a non-factor kind of deal, because if you didn't know about them, then it's, yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully I'm not the only one out there, but explain to maybe even me or some of the listeners, I'll let you both want to go to, or whoever wants to, what exactly is the 7 deadly sins?
Okay.
Is it a scene? What is it? Is it a book?
So pretty much the 7 deadly sins are something that used to be taught a long time ago, kind of like Old Testament kind of deal, to where you were supposed to live your life by being humble. So you weren't supposed to be too greedy, you weren't supposed to glutton too much. So if someone was fat, had a lot of money, always was trying to go after a different woman, was envious of other people because they had too much greed, too much money, all kinds of stuff like that, that's 4 sins right then and there you've just committed. And these, the thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not, covet thy neighbor's wife or whatever have you, kind of like that. These are just newer, like medieval to newer times sins like that. So in some religious ways, you would actually get persecuted for these.
One of the next scenes I want to talk about is the scene where Morgan Freeman comes over for dinner, and they get a kick out of the apartment shaking because of the train tracks. But I think it was the scene before that about the Silence of the Lambs reference, or the Silence of the Lambs reference. Did you get that? Or when Brad Pitt was telling Morgan Freeman that Jodie Foster probably put him up to it.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was. I was like, oh, we just talked about that last week.
Well, and the scene before that, before we talk about the dinner scene, is I kind of like the montage of them kind of just going through just books and just different things. Because if you kind of pay attention, Morgan Freeman picks out the Canterbury Tales, Dante's Inferno. Just there's the model of, the Dante's Inferno is basically the journey into hell, the seven circles of hell, basically. And the movie deals with that in a certain way because, the movie takes place an entire week. And each week it goes, further and further, darker and darker into the point of just total, quote-unquote, hell, basically.
I actually wrote them in order, which was the same order that they had found the words in, which was gluttony was the first one, greed, sloth, and then envy, wrath, pride, and lust.
Actually, I will stop you there, though. Lust and envy are not correct. Lust would be 6th, and envy would be 7th.
Well, that was the order they had them written in.
Yeah.
That was the way that the killer was leaving the clues for him.
But those two, he had to kind of, like he said, his, what was it that he said was screwed up now, so he had to go on a faster track.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was like,
what did you guys think of the scene where they found the actual apartment and, Kevin Spacey's right there and he starts shooting at him and takes off? That chase sequence was pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of the one in, I think Fast 5.
Fast and Furious 4.
Yeah.
They're going to the apartment building.
In Brazil? Yeah. Or no,
that's Fast 5. You're right.
I was about to say, because that's the one with The Rock introducing Hobbs, for that matter. But yeah, that's the one. That's kind of what it reminded me of in parts, But yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I think it was a good move for them to kind of keep, because you do see Kevin Spacey's character early on, but you just don't realize it, because it's in a way like Saw, because the killer is.
We'll touch on the Saw reference, and we'll touch on this movie laid the eggs for what Saw would become.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what we're gonna get ready to get into before we get ready to close, or at least talk about the big ending. But what about the interrogation scene? Did you?
That was pretty cool.
How crazy was the interrogation scene for you guys?
And you talked about the one with I want to say lust with the
yeah.
I'm gonna say the one side with Brad Pitt was just kind of a good cop bad cop kind of deal. However, the one with Morgan Freeman and the one guy, I mean, don't get me wrong,
you could tell that performance right there. Or even him just going through that, describing what he was made to do, and then he couldn't hardly get it out because he was just so upset. That was pretty gruesome. And then you see the picture of what he had to put on. It was
because when they're in the leather shop, you're kind of going like, what's the picture? And all of a sudden, when it does show the picture, it's like, oh,
right. And I think David Fincher was pushing it. Yeah.
Grotesque.
The idea that you think for a second you're gonna see the body, but the camera stops and they're blocking. You can see her legs and her head, but you don't see that, and it's just kind of blocking. And then later on, you see the picture. It's like, oh, okay.
That's why.
What did you guys think of some of the other things or other parts of the film that really probably wasn't too? It was brought up, but it was just more of some of the library scenes. The first library scene where Morgan Freeman's by himself, and then what was the other scene where they're in the apartment and it looks like they're in the library, but it's just all his journals that he had written.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, about his life.
Yeah.
Basically, I think he said a couple thousand journals and 250 pages each, and they're practically written, no non-spaced words, and it's half jumbling, half writing his life story, and it's almost like he wanted to be remembered.
Yeah.
It's just
this first clip I'm going to play is of the John Doe, where the two detectives, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, walk into their building, and who comes out of the taxi? Kevin Spacey.
After this, I'm gone.
No big surprise.
Detective!
You're looking for me.
Hey! What's your fucking move? On the fucking floor. Keep away from him! On the fucking floor!
I know you.
Now! Get out! Get down! On your stomach, you piece of shit! Now! All the way! All the way, fucker! Down! Faster! Faster! Faster, fucker! Now! Doe's on the ground! Jesus Christ. What the fuck is this?
I'd like to speak to my lawyer, please.
God damn it!
Alright guys, that scene where he just comes out of nowhere and kind of shocks everybody, but I think it was all along his game plan. What did you think when you saw that, the back, first off, you just saw the back scene of him getting out of the taxi and he walks into the police department with just blood all over him. Zach, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it was a great twist in the fact that, I mean, you see the scene, the shot begins with him coming out of the taxi and pans up to see him, and you see that you already can tell there's blood on his clothes and everything, and you're just like, oh man, like, and then it proceeds to him going into the police department, and then he's yelling at Brad and Morgan, say, hey detective, I'm here, and like his hands are all bandaged up, there's blood all over him, they're covered in blood, and it's just like, oh. You can tell something's about to go down, but you don't exactly know what.
I want to know how much he paid for that fare, or what he did to make that cabbie drive him there with all that blood and his fingertips pretty much essentially cut off, or at least,
burnt off or something.
Well, I mean, it was definitely sliced, but yeah.
Well, they mention it was sliced.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I could really just like sit back, and the last 15 minutes of Kevin Spacey is like, again, somebody who should have like been not nominated, I guess, like somebody who needs to be recognized for the kind of performance that he was doing. And this isn't the first time Kevin Spacey has done work like this. Like, Kevin Spacey can act.
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
He's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and
bring it up.
Regardless of all the accusations that came out against him, it's and I'm not defending him if he did those things.
Didn't they come out and say that he was not guilty, or is he still not under?
Well, the guy that originally accused him, I think he's dropped it, but I mean, he still has had other accusers come out and go against him. But I mean, like,
I'll put it this way: if it's been 15 to 20 years later, and like, I'm not saying, I don't condone any of the actions that he was allegedly did or did not do, but I think it's one of those things where, again, you got to watch what you kind of talk about, but I think it's one of those things that he should really be maybe innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Because as soon as allegations start, you lose your jobs. Yeah. You don't get any more jobs in Hollywood. Your show gets canceled. The movies that you got...
The movie you're originally in, All the Money in the World, which you had filmed, but you basically get recast and don't get no credit. His last movie is basically Baby Driver, at least a mainstream film.
Mm-hmm.
And, he got kicked off House of Cards, like you said. And so he's basically, it's sad to say, he's basically going to live the rest of his life in shame.
Whether he's been, wrongfully accused or not. I mean, I think something should be done. Not just him, but all these actors or, sports athletes. I think you should literally be innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Michael Vick got to play football until he was literally proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these other NFL players, a lot of these NBA basketball players, you are on the field earning your money, helping your team win until you're proven innocent or until you're proven guilty. And I think it should be the same for Hollywood. So, but that's my little get on it. But yeah, I mean, you can't, no matter what, I guess it'd be different if he did something else, but no matter what he did, you can't take away the performance he did in this movie.
No. And something I was going to bring up, director David Fincher, I just kind of want to, I'm going to go through his filmography real quick. Before he did Seven, he did Alien 3, which, say what you will about that film, at least it's still a big blockbuster film.
It's underrated, if you ask me. It's not terrible.
No. He did Seven in 95, and then Fight Club in 99, which I kind of think those two movies were reversed in my mind. I think Seven came out in 99 and Fight Club in 95. But here's the string of films that he did in the 2000s. 2002 Panic Room, 2007 Zodiac, which I think is a really good, like, that's a psychological thriller. 2008 The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. 2010 The Social Network. Everyone thought he was going to win Best Director for that. 2011 The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo with Daniel Craig. He directed a couple episodes, and I think he was one of the creators of House of Cards with Kevin Spacey.
I'm like smack dab right in the middle of my David Fincher like binge watch, and it's amazing. I'll talk to you guys about it.
And then 2004 he had Gone Girl, and then he is the creator and some of the director of the Netflix show Mindhunter, which is basically
Have you seen any of that?
I saw the first episode. It really didn't do much for me. So, and supposedly he's supposed to be doing World War Z 2 with Brad Pitt. Whether or not they'll come out, it's yet to be determined.
What about you, Ed? What are some notable David Fincher films that stick out for you?
I mean, don't get me wrong, Gone Girl. Pretty much. I mean, other than this one, Gone Girl. You said Fight Club. He's done Fight Club. Okay, yeah, Fight Club, Gone Girl. I mean, honestly, those two really stick out just because seen both of them many times, and yeah.
I think Benjamin Button is his best film.
Well,
I think that's...
Before we'll kind of discuss some more films of his, but before we... I want to play one more clip. I got two more clips I want to play, and this one is of the cop car scene where Kevin Spacey is in the back of the cop car.
Still innocent people.
Innocent? Is that supposed to be funny? An obese man? A disgusting man who could barely stand up? A man who, if you saw him on the street, you'd point him out to your friends so that they could join you in mocking him? A man who, if you saw him while you were eating, you wouldn't be able to finish your meal? And after him, I picked the lawyer, and you both must have secretly been thanking me for that one. This is a man who dedicated his life to making money by lying with every breath that he could muster to keeping murderers and rapists on the streets.
Murderers.
A woman.
Murderers, John, like
A
yourself.
woman. So ugly on the inside that she couldn't bear to go on living if she couldn't be beautiful on the outside. A drug dealer, a drug-dealing pederast, actually. And let's not forget the disease-spreading whore. Only in a world this shitty could you even try to say these were innocent people and keep a straight face? But that's the point. We see a deadly sin on every street corner, in every home, and we tolerate it.
So, that being said, I want to point out how this episode might tie into next week's episode, how Jigsaw kind of gives the same exact explanation. And we'll talk more about it next week, but, he gathers up people who he thinks committed certain sins or certain crimes, and they have to pay for what they have done. Kevin Spacey almost the exact same way in this movie. Give or take, I think this is a really, really well-written ending and story to a... How can I say this? I would like more movies where there's... not long, but maybe the first hour is, the story of somebody getting told that, hey, there's murders, we have to try to find them, and then, boom, a thriller like this at the end, almost like Prisoners, where the kids get abducted, and the two fathers have to try to find them. Movies like that just amaze me.
One thing that always stuck out in this movie is the word apathy kept getting used. And apathy basically means pretty much you're dull of emotions. So you don't have any empathy, you don't have any sympathy, you don't have any anger, despisement, nothing, none of that. So what I find funny is that he gets so emotional in this scene when this gentleman this person is supposed to have complete apathy. Like they say in the movie, he's almost a preacher for that matter. But I mean, and then he confesses that what his sin is, and it's just kind of, it's like he's a two-sided coin. Because on one side he's condemning the overweight man for gluttony and being obese and all this other stuff, and then on the other, the lawyer for being greedy. But he in his own right has no. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like he's trying to play a higher power or God or whatever you want to call that. Because you're going there and condemning other people for having, a single or several of these 7 deadly sins. However, you're a murderer. What
do you guys, Zach, and I'll start with you. What do you guys think of how the lawyer goes in there and pretty much is trying to play hardball and says, this is what my client wants, take it or leave it? What did you think of that sending, that scene from going into the helicopter scene?
I didn't mind it. I thought that, I knew since Brad Pitt's character was kind of like on the forefront of all this, he wanted to be the lead detective. I figured he had something to do with him at the end. But I really couldn't figure out why he wanted Morgan Freeman. I think he knew that once Brad figured out what was happening, I think Morgan Freeman could have easily stopped it. Kevin Spacey wanted Morgan Freeman to stop what he was about to do, but You know, if you notice all through the movie, you know, Morgan's always like, you know, you let your emotions get to the best of you, and that ultimately is what happens at the end of the film.
And I'll go ahead and play that final scene, and it's dubbed The Box.
I tried to taste the life of a simple man.
Blow it away!
It didn't work out. So, I took a souvenir. Her pretty head.
Give me your gun. What's going on over there? Put the gun down. I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Because I envy your normal life.
Put the gun down, David.
It seems that envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box? Not till you give me the
What's
gun.
in the fucking box?
Give me the gun.
He just told you. You lie! You're a fucking liar! Shut up!
That's what he wants. He wants you to shoot him.
No! No!
You tell me that's not true. That's not true.
Become vengeance, David.
Ah, she's all right. You tell me.
Become wrath.
Tell me she's all right! You made her a suspect, David. No! Just throw it all away, you know. No!
She begged for her life, Detective.
Shut up!
She begged for her life.
Shut up.
And for the life of the baby inside of her.
Shut up!
He didn't know.
Did you get goosebumps?
I got goosebumps listening to it, and then when we watched it, you know, in the rewatch today, I'm like, is it me, or is when you talk about some greats like Leo, Daniel Day-Lewis, why is Brad Pitt not thrown in that conversation?
I think.
I think Brad Pitt as a whole. Now maybe he's probably done some off-the-wall goofy movies as well, and I think that's probably why. But when you take a handful of his really good, pure acting films that he's done, I think he's got to be in there with some of the greats of literally golden age or today.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's more of the blue collar than the white collar necessarily, if you will. I just think, yeah, once you go ahead and do a couple of little haha or, you know, off the beaten path films, if you will, then you're not scarred or anything like that or black flagged, but you are kind of, oh, well, obviously he's not all that serious about the craft. He's mostly serious, but not all that serious.
Zach, what do you figure?
Yeah, you know, with, you know, some of the films like Seven, Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Inglourious Bastards. I think he is an actor that when he has the right subject material, he can really shine. But then, like, he can do something like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, or, you know, what other action movies?
Which, I mean, honestly, he's not
you know?
he's not terrible in any of those movies.
No, I don't think he's a terrible actor by means, but I think he just doesn't get.
He's not afraid to take the payday.
Exactly. You would never see Leo do a payday. Leo's movies are always, well, maybe in his early career, but like now, like early Scorsese with like Gangs of New York and Aviator and all that.
Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, you know, when you start off with that first scene.
But I mean, like even with that movie with Leo, like you could.
To me, that's the best performance. That's his best role he's ever done.
Like when you hear him talk about that, he got like super into like the Wall Street life and everything. He got interested in.
We'll talk about it in I think it's an episode in November. But the way how could you put that? The way football players are with their fraternity.
Yeah.
That's how it is in Wall Street. That's how those guys are. That's live, breathe, die. That's how they make their living.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's just as wild like it shows in the movie. But guys, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up and just talk some David Finch films and
What's your favorite scenes?
Well, honestly, my favorite two scenes will be the discovering of the Fat Man. I think that is just gross and grotesque, and it's one of the reasons why I picked the movie for us to talk about in October. Mm-hmm. And then it would be a lot of people, you guys included, talk really highly on Kevin Spacey, and don't get me wrong, he performed amazing in this movie. But Brad Pitt, the box, when he's got the tears in his eyes and he doesn't want to believe it, call him a liar.
Mm-hmm.
That's some good acting as well. And on the week topic of the Joker seeing some good acting, I can say that Brad Pitt was on top of his game. Those two are mine. Zach, what about you?
I can't help it. In the last 20 minutes with Kevin Spacey and Brad Pitt, that's probably number one. But number two is honestly just the little dialogue moments between Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. I think there's this underlining tone of the veteran cop, and Morgan Freeman is just like, why would you come to a place like this? And the young naive cop of like, oh, this is a city. There's just where crime happens, and yeah.
Did they ever say what part of the city they were in?
I don't think so.
Like Chicago or something? Feels like it would be like a Chicago kind of setting.
I think it's either Chicago or New York.
Ed, what about you? What do you have some favorite scene or two?
Yeah, definitely the actual scene between the car ride between Kevin Spacey, Morgan Freeman, and Brad Pitt. That just, the overwhelming emotions and the tug of war of emotional pull right there between Spacey and Pitt, I think is nice and shows the, the talent coming out of both of them for that matter, and how they are pushing off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would probably say the other one, yeah, the dialogue bits between Morgan Freeman and trying to be the tutor or the teacher to Brad Pitt's character, and of course, like you said, the naive to the almost retired. But it's just kind of you don't want to screw this kid out, so try, but it's
take
not
him under
gonna
your wing type thing,
I guess. But yeah. It's just with these kind of movies, it's kind of hard not to have that little pull of the heartstrings, because whether you are married or in like a relationship or anything like that, you understand
the idea that your loved one has just been killed.
Yeah, and not even just killed, but decapitated. Yeah. Jeez, or what? Would be a hard time to undergo. So
I think we're gonna go ahead and give some star ratings for this movie, and we'll go around table. Zach, we'll start with you. What do you give this?
While I don't consider this David Fincher's best film, but I still think it's a very enjoyable film.
Doors that way.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's really well done. The performances and the twist at the end is what sells the movie to me. What about you, Ed?
I'm gonna have to go a little bit higher. 8.5 strong, honestly. I just feel it's kind of when you have three actors like that are feeding off each other, two main, one part. It adds weight to the movie. And, when you've got someone like Gwyneth Paltrow, who in her own right is a big actress in a lot of different movies, it's kind of crazy to imagine her in maybe a 10-minute role, if that. So, yeah, I've got to say 8.5 for me. So.
Performances alone, other than the way this movie kind of feels dark and twisted, I will say that I enjoyed all three performances from the three top billed actors. And this, sequence itself would be Brad Pitt, Kevin Spacey, and the great. You said it himself. The actor that was in that we didn't even mention in this movie, the actor who was in Full Metal Jacket, who played their boss,
Arlie Emery.
Yeah. Arlie Emery, yes.
Even though he didn't have a big role and his role wasn't like mind blowing, I enjoyed his work as well. I think Kevin Spacey. I really highly. If you guys are in the mood for not a horror movie, but you want to know something that's like a psychological thriller, a dark, twisted, insane film that is just
amazing story.
Yeah, great storytelling. Go check this out. If slasher movies isn't your thing, but you want to watch something dark for this time of year, this spooky season, I think Seven goes right up there with some of the greats. Silence of the Lambs, The Exorcist. So go check it out. I give this movie a 9. I really feel like I should have, visited this movie more often. But I give it a 9 solely on the performances. David Fincher. It's to me it's one of his better films.
I had him in our top 5 directors.
Yeah, I think he's a great director. I think behind Benjamin Button and Fight Club, I think this is probably, to me, one of my favorite movies of him. But I give it a 9. So, guys, we are at that point where we have 3 movies left, and then it's on the road to Star Wars. I talked about it last week a little bit. We're going to do, I think November looks fun. When you talk about, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Wolf of Wall Street. I am on the fence, though. I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to you guys about it. I'm on the fence about a Tom Hanks episode. I think we should do a Tom Hanks movie before Mr. Rogers. But I don't know. I don't know if we should dedicate a whole episode to another actor. But we'll check it out. But next week is all about Saw. You guys have anything else to talk about with David Fincher or Seven?
At the moment, not really. I mean, it's kind of hard to cover it just because it has so many different aspects of the film. So, I mean, honestly, go see it. If you haven't seen it in a while, pick it back up. If you have never seen it, do yourself a favor and go grab an amazing story.
Well, what kind of shocks me about it is I talked to you about it last week, Zach, and this was on Hulu, and then literally, like, the moment they found out, I guess we were doing an episode on it, they took it off Hulu.
Yeah, like, I was literally... Sunday afternoon, I was literally going to watch it before I came over and did the Joker episode, and they had pulled it. And so I had to borrow Johnny's copy.
It was on there last Saturday, last Monday, last Sunday. So I'm sitting there like, why? And I'm not going to lie. The movies that are on Netflix and Hulu, when we do movies that are streaming on those 2 stations, whatever you want to call them, those are some of our most downloaded older film episodes of all time. So, but you can check it out. You can rent it on Amazon Prime Video, YouTube, Google Play, and Vudu for only $3.99. So if you got $4 and you want to see a great movie, go rent it. It's worth it. And I've also seen this movie in the $5 bin at Best Buy and Walmart on Blu-ray. You can find it for $3 in the DVD bin.
There you go.
There you go.
But yeah, next week, guys, is all about Saw from 2004, directed by the great James Wan. So, what you guys excited for some Saw?
Yeah, definitely. Especially the first one. That one is by far my favorite. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, because I haven't seen the original Saw in forever. I don't know how long it's been.
It's been a while for me as well, but I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I actually, when I was younger, I was like mid-teens when Saw came out and Saw series started coming out, and I loved it with this first one, and I went in and probably watched those extra features multiple times. So yeah,
yeah, I'm excited for it. Saw is one of those films and one of those franchises that I visit every single year, and for you two, the entire franchise is on the Vudu account. So if you guys want to view them multiple times, multiple movies, they're both on there. But yeah, we're going to introduce a mailbag segment for the first time in this very awesome, lengthy episode. But here's one. Most of these are going to be anonymous too. I don't know why, but this one is going to be for all of us, and it has to do with Silence of the Lambs. Do you guys like your steak rare, medium, or well done? Zach, we'll start with you.
Medium rare. I like it a little bloody.
Honestly, most people are going to probably find me probably hate me. I like mine done, actually, and with a nice Chianti.
So you like yours in the trash?
No, not at all. Personally, you know, I mean, if it's Berta beef, I'll go ahead and do 4 minutes. Flip every minute. Heavily salt with pepper and salt. And yeah, get the good grill marks on there, bud.
And this has been Cooking with Ed. We'll be back next week.
Hey,
I like mine medium well. So I'm medium well, medium rare. I like it a little bloody. This one is from Tristan19. What superhero movies are you guys most looking forward to doing in the next 6 months to a year? Whether it be a brand new one coming out or maybe something that is, that we haven't covered. Zach, we'll go ahead and continue to start with you. Or if you're still thinking, I'll go ahead and name some off. For sure, mine is going to be, I think we should retouch and visit maybe the Suicide Squad. After this performance of the Joker, I think it would be good to go back and maybe, especially with something like this movie being really heavy criticized and being crapped on, I think Suicide Squad may be deserving of a good solid talking about. It's the child it's the problem child, not somebody, you don't automatically send that child to the corner. You talk to him. You want to coach him up. So I think Suicide Squad could be maybe one of those movies. We're doing The Dark Knight Rises in December or November. Maybe Shazam. So what about you, Ed?
Shazam is definitely one of them I'd love to cover. I mean, would you count Star Wars as a superhero?
Negative.
No? Okay, damn it.
Oh,
well,
another one that I think we should do really soon is The Killing Joke. Since Joker was just released, that would be our first or second animated film behind the Iron Giant then.
Well, no, then that would be third because Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh.
Yeah, so, I mean, don't get me wrong, Spider-Man Far From Home, I loved that one.
That's why we
really
pay
nice.
Ed the big bucks.
Hey. But yeah, I've got to say there's a few different ones. I'm more partial to Marvel, or even more so with like the X-Men and all that. Especially Wolverine, personally.
Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I was gonna suggest. I think it'd be good to do the director's cut of Batman vs Superman. I think that'd be a fun episode to do.
That's true.
Because everyone basically craps on that movie.
Yeah.
And another one, you kind of brought it up, Ed, not directly, but Logan.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really cool episode to do.
Yeah. This one is from Mikey261, and they want to know. I think it's as far as female male, I'm not sure, but they want to know is this next one was from Dave. He wants to know what Marvel movie should we do that we haven't done yet. We've done like On the Road to, Endgame, like Captain Marvel, the Avengers films. Which one's out there that we should do?
I honestly think we should do the one that started it all, Iron Man. The 2008 original of the MCU, at least, I will say, Iron Man. If not that one, I mean, since we're counting Marvel, maybe the Fox X-Men, and I'm talking back with the original X-Men from, 2000? From Sam Raimi? Yeah.
Bryan Singer.
Or Bryan Singer, yeah.
He did the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Zach, what about you?
Or even the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I'd love one of those three.
Ed, since you took Iron Man, I'm gonna do. I don't know why I love this one so much, but I think it's just kind of very underrated in my opinion. Captain America: The First Avenger. I think that'd be a fun one to do.
Agreed.
I'm gonna counteract and say, Dave, that I think we'll do a Marvel movie, but I think we should touch and look at Howard the Duck, the one that really started them all. One of the very first feature-length Marvel films.
Hey.
I think Howard the Duck is. I grew up on that movie, and I used to watch it on TNT late night, and people forget how raunchy it is, but I enjoyed Howard the Duck.
What do you let them lick you like that for?
Next one is Anonymous. I recently listened to one of your episodes, and I kind of enjoyed the salty debate about The Lion King. Myself personally, I did not enjoy it, but my wife did, and we argued 3 days straight. You guys argued for a few good minutes. Let me hear it again.
All right, so I'm Ed, and I personally liked it quite a bit, and I didn't really understand the gripiness and all that. But I'm gonna say, like, I'm not gonna call you and be like, oh, you are ignorant or anything like that. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. That's your opinion. I can be okay with that, but I would like to know why. You know what I mean? And I do feel that a couple of the voices weren't maybe on. You know what I mean? And you could probably even pick up half of my verbatim words back from that episode.
I'm just glad somebody enjoyed that little debate.
I think those are kind of the fun times we have.
Well, I was gonna say I have had a lot of emails in the past that say they kind of wish we could sit down and pick a film that somebody loves, somebody likes, and somebody hates.
Well, we kind of did that with Watchmen.
Who hated it?
Well, I don't think Ed didn't hate it, but he just wasn't on.
I think
the
I
same
just
level.
like had it.
He watched.
Like, it was too
he watched
long.
the 4-hour version.
Titanic 2.
I'm not lying. It was 3.5 hours.
I know. Yeah. I think 3 hours and 32 minutes or 23, one of the two. No, I didn't hate Watchmen. I did find. I can't even tell you half of their names right now. But Blue.
Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan. I found him to be kind of apathetic, just like Kevin Spacey's character. So, yeah.
Oh, did you want to finish the Lion King one?
Honestly, the Lion King to me, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I think it was one of those emails that was probably straight towards you two because you guys kind of one hated it and one liked it. But I enjoyed it a lot. This next one is pretty much about all three of us, I guess. But they want to know, and it's anonymous as well. They want to know if we would ever do a 4K to a Blu-ray to 4K transfer episode to where we can compare the two because they think that they are just getting ripped or shafted when it comes to buying 4K movies. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, that'd be a fun episode because we talked off mic about the Lion King transfer from the Blu-ray to the 4K, and I can't tell a difference, honestly. I would probably just stick with the Blu-ray.
My answer out there to you, anonymous, and I don't know, I mean, to me, I feel like, which I appreciate the email, but I really think you should let me know at least your name, but we'll call you John Doe. But I really think that you should do your homework before you go buy the 4K to Blu-ray, because in one instance, like I did mine this past week, and The Shining looks amazing. I paid a little extra penny for it, and it had good reviews. However, the Rocketman 4K to Blu-ray transfer says the movie was only filmed in 2K with 2K cameras. So therefore, it doesn't really matter if you get the 4K copy.
It's going to look the same.
It's going to look the same. So therefore, I think that's, I'll go to highdefdigest.com. That's where I go and I get my info. So I really think that, if you're on the fence about it, your Disney movies are always going to look the best. Mm-hmm. Followed up by Marvel CGI movies, stuff like that. I haven't seen the Ghostbusters one yet, but I really, really recommend The Shining. You can also tell which ones really look good because the price is a little higher too. But yeah, I think that would make a great episode. There's a ton more emails, guys. There's probably like an extra 30, but I'm not gonna.
Let's do one more.
You want to do one more?
One more.
We kind of talked about this last week, but this is from Monty 926. He wants to know what is a holiday classic that we always turn our head to, whether it be Christmas or 4th of July or Thanksgiving or Halloween.
Like, what do you mean turn your head? Like, don't watch it?
That you just always have to watch it at least once a year. Okay. So since it's getting close to Christmas, I say we'll talk Christmas movies. I'll give my example first. I always have to watch the 1956 version of A Christmas Story, and I always have to watch or not A Christmas Story, of A Christmas Carol, and then I always have to watch A Christmas Story. Those are the two musts for me. Zach, what about you?
I have a couple. I think ever since I was a kid, I loved the Grinch. Ever since the beginning, I love the animated. I have to watch the animated version. I have to watch the Jim Carrey version. The Jim Carrey version is always on television, especially on ABC, like on Thanksgiving. What about you, Ed?
I actually have a little slight difference that I'm going to add. Now, if I'm talking straight movies, usually I like to watch around Christmas time the Harry Potter movies. I don't know why those things have become a friggin' Christmas time thing, but it's just kind of cool. It's a nice, comfy thing. Plus, I really want to try and get the recipe to butterbeer right, so that'd be nice. But I do something a little different. To me, other than that, it's not really a festival movie that I have to watch, that I strictly have to watch. But with Halloween and Thanksgiving, I have to listen on Halloween to the Monster Mash. Hands down, it's not Halloween unless I do. And then you're gonna love this one, Johnny. With Thanksgiving, I have to hear the turkey song. I don't care. It's turkey or die, basically, with that. But yeah, Monster Mash song and Turkey Day song by Adam Sandler. I know that might be a little odd, but it's not either of those days. And even if it's just on my drive to work or drive to, Thanksgiving with someone at usually my grandparents' or aunt's house, it's always, I'm listening to it in the car.
It's a tradition.
Yeah, for me.
We'll do 2 quick rapid fire last ones. Only because one is a props to Zach, and then the other one is a really good answer. This is from Veronica66. She wants to let you know that she really did not like Dracula until you explained that there's a bonus feature that you can replay the soundtrack.
Oh.
And she watched it, and she thinks it's like literally 2 thumbs up.
Hey,
you're welcome, Veronica.
The next one is Anonymous, and they want to know if we would ever do one whole episode and just talk about the original movie to a sequel. So pretty much, I guess we would designate an entire episode to the Terminator versus Terminator 2 Judgment Day, or Alien and Aliens.
We kind of did that with John Wick and John Wick Chapter 2.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Do like another one?
Well, actually, we really did, especially on 2 different episodes with the Halloween compared to the technical sequel, John Carpenter.
I think that's what the email was pretty more like, to where one week we dedicated a whole movie to the original, and then the next week was the sequel.
But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, more than likely in the future, yeah. Definitely. I know I like doing that. I know y'all. I
almost put Halloween 2 on the schedule, so I think that's what they were probably talking about. But I mean, right now I want to thank everybody for the emails. That was like a really fun little segment, and the more you send in, I think we're going to designate at least the last 10 minutes to an entire mailbag episode. And if you guys want to send in voicemails, I'll play them over the radio too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So you can leave us a voicemail at 405-590-5711. Leave us a nice little voicemail, and then the email is Cine-Men, Cine-Men 921 at gmail.com. So again, that's Cine-Men, Cine-Men 921 at gmail.com. So yeah, leave us some voicemails, leave us some emails, and we'll share them on air. So
I think, before we get out of here, I think all of us, from deep down, we just want to say thank you. The fact that these 2 have been doing it for about a whole year now, and I've joined on the bandwagon, and
almost a year for you.
Yeah, you're 1 year.
Yeah, in November. Yeah, November, early December, and I've had so much fun doing this, and that I didn't even know we were doing the mailbag thing until I got here, and that was fun. I thought
I sent out a group text during the week, but I guess I didn't send it, or it didn't go all the way through. But Zach, your head is finally healing up from the inauguration that we beat you in. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, almost a whole year for Zach.
That fences episode. No.
Yeah. Hey.
So I think, maybe we kind of celebrated with the It Chapter 2 episode. I'm thinking maybe for Zach's 1 year we should celebrate with doing a movie that he suggests to us that maybe we have never seen. Or something like that, along the lines.
Antichrist. No.
But what about you guys? Anything else before we head out?
No, this is Zach signing out.
All right, this is Edward saying see you on the silver screen.
Alright guys, and this is Juan, and I just want to let you guys know thank you very much for tuning in to the bonus episode, and which was all about the Joker, and then this episode, which is all about David Fincher's Seven. So thank you very much guys, and we'll listen and talk to you guys next week when we talk all about Saw. Thank you, and good night, and we will see you next time on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.